just a good old boy.
Hi, today we're here to discuss the differences between grass-fed and grain-fed livestock operations. And today we're going to focus on the beef side of the industry, as it's the more popular and the higher capacity industry.
Hello, today we will be talking about the advantages and disadvantages of a grain-fed beef operation. Let's start with the advantages. Our advantages consist of we can regulate this cow's diet to a T. The diet you see here on the ground have been regulated by a beef nutritionist to meet or exceed the nutritional needs of each cow. Among other advantages are we can closer monitor these cows to make sure they maintain good health and overall production of the animal. With the grain-fed diet, we can finish these cows to a greater extent. And now, let's talk about some of the disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages are public perception. Oftentimes, the public doesn't like to see cows living in this environment. It seems dirty, and it just seems like a poor place to live. It's not as good as this lush pasture you see off to my right. Now, another disadvantage is what are we going to do with all the manure? We have to keep the place clean to ensure that our cows stay healthy at all times. That just adds to another cost. Another disadvantage as far as costs go is the feed. The feed is often expensive and is the greatest cost that a feedlot will encounter. The feed is at the mercy of the commodity prices. If someone wants corn to, say, do ethanol or anything else, it really hurts the farmer. Any of the ingredients in this grain goes up, obviously, when other prices go up. So those are among the disadvantages of a grain-fed beef operation. Thank you.
Alright, we're out here in the pasture to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of grass-fed beef. Now, to start with the advantages, probably the biggest is the feed resource. It's often the cheapest of any feed resource for an operation because it's just what nature provides or some manipulation from irrigation, but it's still a minimal cost compared to commodities who are at the mercy of the Chicago Board of Trade, which can vary a lot throughout the year. So we get a more steady production cost for the grass itself. Also, the public perception of grass-fed beef is more positive as the cows are in the open field and are fed on nature's grass, which is to some a better option. Also, we don't have to deal with manure like we do in a confinement situation such as a feedlot, so we don't have that added expense to there. But there are some disadvantages. The cattle grow a lot slower and aren't as productive on grass as they are compared to a concentrated diet that's higher in energy and other trace minerals. Now, some operations do allow, for their grass-fed operations, to allow some byproducts to be fed, such as almond hulls and rice bran, but this is kept to a minimum, and the animal's main diet is a grass-based diet. Another disadvantage is the degree of finish that the cattle will put on. When they're on a high concentrated diet, we can easily manipulate their finish to maximize profit when it comes to the choice select spread. Unfortunately, on grass, the cattle just don't put on the fat or the right type of fat to really maximize that profit once they get to the slaughterhouse. Alright, now we've come to the taste test of our project here. Here we have the grain-fed beef. It's a little lighter, more cherry red color, and we can see more marbling inside of it. And also, the way it feels, it is tender. Now on this side, we have the grass-fed beef. It's a darker, deeper red, and we can see more fat grains through it, but less marbling. So we're going to go ahead and grill these up and have a little taste test. One.
Hello, for the next part of our video, we have prepared the meat the exact same over a barbecue, and we have a nice volunteer here to give us an unbiased reasoning behind his thoughts of the steaks. Sample number 1.
Ooh. Awful chewy, almost has a little gamey taste to it. Not a lot of moisture and marbling in there. Rather grainy textured. Not my favorite kind of steak.
Is a gamey taste, is that something you would...
It almost relates to the meat of deer.
Okay. Ready for number 2?
Yeah. The steak's a lot more tender. You can taste a lot of moisture throughout it. Get some good flavors in it. A lot better quality.
There you go. There's an unbiased reasoning behind his options. His first steak he had was our grass-fed steak. He referred to it as almost a gamey deer-like flavor. And the second steak was kind of a steak you'd expect to eat in a restaurant almost. And he clearly liked the second one better. So that concludes our sampling portion. Thank you.
How's it going? This is the conclusion to our Feeds and Feeding video. Zach, how do you think it went?
I think it went rather well. We went over the pros and cons of both grass-fed and grain-fed cattle. In that being, with the grain-fed, it might be a little more costly to, grain feed your cattle. But overall, we determined that it produces a better product in the long run. The public might not agree with it as much just from the way that the cattle are kept, but in the end, it just overall produces a lot better quality meat. Anything you'd like to add?
Well, I think one of the advantages of the grass-fed is you can hit that niche market, which the grain-fed really can't because it's so conventional and so mass-produced. So you could get a definite premium off of a grass-fed cut of meat, whether that be beef, lamb, even pork or poultry. But yeah, there's some definite advantages to both, and they both have their setbacks.
And while the grass-fed was not favored with our tester, there's definitely a group of people that would rather have that gamier flavor in their steak, and I think that poses a big advantage in that respect. While it's just a different, like you said, it's a niche market with the grass-fed. A lot of people, yes, they might prefer the grain-fed just for flavor and overall quality, but that doesn't mean it's a superior steak by any means.
So with that, we'd like to conclude our video. Thanks for watching. Catch you next time.